Okay, hello again, everyone, and good morning. Yesterday was the beginning of week 8, and we're going to continue that today. Today's bell work, we're doing a little bit of review for the EOC each day with the bell work, so make sure you're paying attention. Exam number 1 starts on December 17th, and I guess second and third would be the next day, December 18th. So keep that in mind. Let's take a look here and work this problem here. So let's take a look. Well, the distance formula, I asked you to write this down first, so hopefully you did that. And then your x's go here and your y's go here, and it doesn't matter which way you go. I'm going to go this way, so make sure you continue that. So it's going to be -2 and -6. Okay, and then on this one, you got to go the same direction. Notice the arrows are going the same direction. So that's a -5 and a -7. Well, this becomes a plus. Okay, so now you're going to have something that breaks down a little bit smaller. And then so 5 is 2 squared. And if you did it the other way, you have 2 negatives, but it doesn't matter because when you square it,
it becomes a positive. So this becomes a positive 16, and 2 times 2 gives you 4. So you get the square root of 20, and whatever that is, 4 times 4 is 16. 4 squared is 16, 5 squared is 25. This one's in between both of these, so the square root of 20 is in between about halfway. So I'm going to say approximately 4.5, but you can verify it on your calculator. Let's do that. So here we get 5 shift square root. I get, let's see, it should be 20 shift square root. I get 4.47, which rounds off to 4.5. All right, midpoint is the next one. Let's take a look at that. Midpoint, you add up your x's. So a -2 and a -6 is a -8. And then you cut it in half, hence the word midpoint. You add up these two and get a -12 divided by 2. So the midpoint, you're going to simplify this. M is going to be a -4 and a -6. That is the midpoint. Okay. All right, let's keep going. Circle. Well, the area of the circle is pi radius squared. So it's pi, 3.14, times the radius squared. So that's 5 times 5. Understand your radius is smaller than your diameter. Your diameter goes all the way across. Make sure you know that. So 5 times 5 is 25 times 3.14. And we get a grand total of 78.5 square inches. Now, if they said in terms of pi, then you would leave pi alone, and it would just be 25 pi. So either one, 25 pi or this number, depending on how they asked it. This one's a work backwards problem, so put area of a circle equals pi radius squared. Well, the area is 200. We know that pi is 3.14. We're looking for the radius. So all we're going to do is divide and then take the square root. So we're going to take 200, make sure you can do this one because it's on there, divide it by 3.14, press equals, hit shift, and then square root, and I get 7.98. So 7.98, and if you wanted to round to the 10th spot, it would be 8.0. Okay, so either one of those should be fine. And again, it's a work backwards problem. You write down your equation, substitute, and solve it. This one you had yesterday on your worksheet A. If you didn't get it, for some reason, it's back there in that blue folder by the pencil sharpener. This is called an exterior angle. So the exterior angle is equal to the sum of the two remote interior angles. So you're going to add those up. So you're going to get 5x, and then 80 minus 7 is going to give you 73, I think that is. So put plus 73. So you're going to add these two up, and that's what I did. So now I have more x's over here. I would subtract 5x from both sides. So now I get 73 on this side, and I'm going to go ahead and subtract 1 also. So that's going to end up being 72. So this is going to be 9x equals 72, and I'm going to divide by 9. So 72 divided by 9, and I get a perfect 8. There's not many times when I change a problem and it works out perfectly, but there it is. Now, if they want to know what this angle is, you would go ahead and take 5 times 8 is 40, and then 40 minus 7 is 33. So this one is 33 degrees
and then you add these two up and you get this one. So this one's 113 degrees. Or you can substitute the number back into here. Either way, you can either add these two up or substitute the 8, 14 times 8 plus 1. Okay, let's try that. 14 times 8, so 14 times 8 equals, and then plus 1. So plus 1 equals 113, which is what I said. All right, let's go on to today's work. Put away your bell work and copy these properties of a parallelogram. You might think, well, what is a parallelogram? Okay, well, a parallelogram has certain properties, and 3 of them start off with O, 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 opposite, opposite, opposite. Make sure you know that. Okay, so let's take one here. A rectangle is a parallelogram. And you might say, why? Well, it has all the properties. Number 1, opposite. Opposite sides are parallel. So those sides are parallel. So sides are parallel. Draw that diagram. Opposite sides are congruent. So we're going to say 12, 12, 4, and 4. And opposite angles are congruent. So opposite angles are congruent. Opposite sides are congruent. Okay? All right, so let's see here. Opposite angles. So this angle is equal to this one. And this angle is equal to this one. They're opposite each other. Okay? And actually, this is a rectangle, so they're all equal. All right? So if you take a parallelogram, which looks like this, this is a parallelogram. So this angle is exactly equal to that one, and this big one is equal to that one. Okay? And it still has opposite sides of parallel. Okay? It still has opposite angles of congruent, and it still has opposite sides congruent. So this would be 4, 4, and 12, 12. Okay, so it still has all the properties of a parallelogram. A rectangle does. So does a square. A rhombus is not a parallelogram. Make sure you know that. Also, the diagonals bisect each other. So this diagonal cuts this one in half and vice versa. So let's say this is 4 and this is 4. This would be 12 and 12. They would be the same. And again, I'm just making these numbers up. But on a rectangle, they're exactly equal. So this one is equal to this one. So if this whole thing was 25, then the other one would be 25. So on a rectangle, the diagonals not only bisect each other, but the diagonals are equal. Make sure you know that. All right, and that's it. That's pretty much it. And we're going to talk about today's worksheet. Let's see if I find it here. If you can't be with us today, here is today's worksheet. Let me minimize that a little bit so I can see the whole thing. If you need to, pause it, make it bigger. Again, this is worksheet 8, or week 8, worksheet B. Okay, so let's slide this up a little bit, and then we'll flip it over. Okay, and the answers are here as well. If you finish this one, go back and finish worksheet A, or work on some other work. But make sure you show work. For example, these are parallelograms. So I want you to start off and write all the properties. So when you get your worksheet, I want you to put opposite, 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 diagonals, and consecutive angles. Okay? So opposite sides are parallel, opposite sides are congruent, and opposite angles are congruent. Diagonals bisect each other, and consecutive angles are supplementary, which means what? Well, it means they add up to 180 degrees. So this angle and this angle are equal, so put 135. There's really no work for that one, okay? These are called consecutive angles, so they have to add up to 180. Consecutive means in order, like from here to here. You don't skip, okay, or from here to here. So this one would have to be 100 degrees, okay? If this side is 23, this side is 23. Now, when you finish this worksheet, I want you to start 6.3 in the workbook. Just start it, okay? So that's going to give you something to do there. Now let's take a look at this one. Let me think here. All right, so take a look at this one. Draw this diagram right here. I'm just about done. Well, we know that this angle and this angle add up to 180. So you take 180 minus 60, and you get 120. So this angle right here is equal to 120 degrees. But we already have 52. So you're going to subtract 120 minus 52, and that should give you your answer. It should be 68 degrees. And so from here to here is 68 degrees, and that is the answer. Okay? All right. So I think that's pretty much it. Again, when you get to the back side, this one plus this one add up to 180 degrees. They are consecutive. So I want to see the equation. So that plus that is equal to that, and then solve that up. Okay? All right, if you get stuck, I'll help you. Have a good morning.